Hello and welcome to Cambridge TV News Christmas Special. I'm delighted to be joined by Cambridge's very own bake-off star, Ian Cumming. Ian put travel photography on hold this year to take part in the Great British Bake Off. He made it through 30 gruelling challenges, winning Star Baker 3 times and finishing runner-up in the grand finale. And he joins me now to share his top Christmas cooking tips.
Morning, morning.
Hi Ian, thanks so much for having me into your home.
Pleasure. No, looking forward to doing some stuff.
So you became known throughout the series as a bit of an inventor, really, didn't you? Coming up with pioneering flavours and these great architectural feats. I'm thinking of your chocolate well, of course.
Yes.
Where did you get your inspiration from?
Sometimes I kind of wonder, and I think back, especially about the chocolate well, where that one came from, because I don't really know. I mean, it came from when I was going for a run. I have to say, I really felt like I needed to do quite a lot of exercise during this whole process because, you're packing away some calories, and I don't know if it's the idea for that one certainly came on a run. I think it may have come from I was reading my daughter The Faraway Tree with Enid Blyton at the time, so I don't know if it came from that. But then somebody has since pointed out, he said, "Oh, there's a little well that you will have run past on that run." Oh, didn't know that, but since then I've seen it. But yeah, it was just sort of, I don't know, I always like this idea of, okay, you got a problem, you got to find a solution. And so you just sort of, you daydream away and come up with these ideas. And generally I've ended up realising the slightly more ridiculous the idea, the more interesting it actually was. And I think the chocolate well and Victoria's crown was certainly in that bracket.
And of course you actually brought a lot of things from your home here in Cambridgeshire, didn't you?
Yeah.
Most notably the rosemary.
Yeah, exactly. The rosemary from the garden here, and quite a lot. There's quite a lot of stuff, especially at that time of year. It's a good time of year for, fresh herbs coming up, and various things from the garden. So it was good, and lots of metalwork from dear old Mackay's in town, which really helped me out with a lot of the bakes.
Things got back to normal?
No, life is so far from normal at the moment, and the fact that I had to turned down a nice job in the Canary Islands a couple of weeks ago for cakey kind of things. Like, what's my life become? That it's not the Canary Islands, it's cake. But there we go. It's fun. I mean, it's this was Series 6. Next year, Series 7 is going to come along, so I know it's probably not going to last forever. So I'm just going to enjoy it whilst I can.
Yeah, and of course, as you say, you've not hung up your apron just yet, and you've been doing some local charity bakes, haven't you? Yeah,
it's funny. I mean, there was some. I felt at times there was quite a lot of negative stuff in the press about not just about me, but also about Bake Off, and I just thought, actually, I don't want to personally remember it, and I don't want Bake Off to be remembered as being a negative thing, and I want to sort of spread that positivity. And that was, and I suppose that also came from, it just so happened that the Dalai Lama was over whilst Bake Off was on, and I was lucky enough to photograph him, and just hearing him and seeing the sort of the positivity that he spreads, I thought, well, okay, I'm not the Dalai Lama, but in my small way, I can do, I can kind of help spread a sort of positive message from cake and bakes and stuff like this. So it's really nice to be able to spread that around, to share it, really. So I've done quite a few things around here, and it's been fun.
And speaking of cake, you're going to be doing some cooking for us here today. So can you show me your kitchen?
Great, let's get stuck in. Cool.
Oh, wow.
Right, so here we are. This is where it all happens.
The kitchen, the most hallowed of places.
Yeah. The
wow.
famously messy kitchen, which is actually not looking too bad today,
I was going to say, I've heard rumours that it was a bit of a bomb site. Just how bad did it get?
Oh, it was just, because there's no dishwasher in here. So that was always the thing that held me up. It's like, right, all the mixing bowls have been used, so we've got to wash up now. But yeah, it really did get pretty bad in here at times.
Well, I can see a lot of metal on the table here and drills. It doesn't look much like the ingredients for a cake. What are you doing?
Well, we're going to make a mould first of all. So we're going to do I thought we'd try and make a snowman shaped mould, and then we'd make a sort of mince pie kind of tart in that mould, and then give it a sort of meringue topping, sort of snowy kind of look about it, and go from there, see what happens. Never made it before, anything could happen, but let's give it a whirl. Nice big round body. And then we'll have a head on top. Then we have our strip of metal.
Wow.
And this is where it all begins. Start like this. So it's kind of, you know, Bake Off meets scrap heat challenge.
So what other creations have you come up with to help with your bakes?
Yeah, I mean, so going from the final, the last thing I did was the stand for the colossal curvy carrot cake, and then back from there we had the sort of the mould for the chocolate well. It felt like every week I'd end up doing something, and it was one of those ones. It's like, okay, I should be practicing the bake now, and instead I'm out with power tools and bits of metal and stuff like this, you know, making something else. Right, so join it all together. Get a rivet. Okay.
And voila, as simple as that.
Sort of a snowman, albeit of a slightly wibbly melting snowman, I think. So that's good enough now. Right, so here we go. Here's some pastry I made earlier.
True Blue Peter style.
Oh yes.
Okay, so for the cookery dummies, like myself, how do you make this then?
So this is basic sort of sweet short crust pastry, and it's quite a nice sort of forgiving one, this. It doesn't sort of crumble, and it's quite bendy, which is what we need, especially for these weird shaped moulds.
So pastry's done.
So
obviously
basic
you've
pastry.
got to roll it.
So now we've got to try and roll it out into a vague snowman kind of shape. I hope there's going to be enough pastry to... He ended up growing a bit, our snowman. Let's see what we can do. Anyway, we will persist on, and we will try and roll them out.
Yeah, so I suppose you can't really remember a time before Bake Off now.
No, yeah, this is it. No, in sort of life before Bake Off, that was normal. That was quiet.
Exactly.
Very
But how did it all begin? How did you get into baking in the first place?
We all started. I mean, I just sort of no meal felt complete without pudding. So, you know, I started, making just simple things like apple crumbles and stuff like that, and then when I moved here to the village, they sort of, you know, there was no bakeries, no cafes here, so I kind of thought, well, if I wanted, you know, nice fresh bread and things like that, I had to do it myself. So it was just baking for the family, nothing more than that. But you know, then watching last year's Bake Off, which I have to admit, it's only the first one I've ever watched.
Really?
And then this year I've just had to really up my game. Really, I mean, just, you know, but you know, I think one of the keys to doing well in Bake Off was practicing, and you know, I gave up everything in order to do it and give it the absolute best shot that I could, and go from there.
And here you are.
And here we are. Yes.
Okay, so we're pretty much all rolled out here, ready to go.
Yep.
And now we've got to get it into your mould, haven't we?
Yeah, that's going to be the fun bit, I think. There
bit.
could be a few tricky bits involved here. So we're just going to try and get it. As you can see, it's a little bit soft and fragile, this one. So I think we're going to have to very carefully lift it on here. And then
Gently does it.
gently sort of unroll it over the top.
Aha. So is it supposed to go up the sides?
Yeah, so it's going to go up and over the sides.
Right.
Um,
So it's like a sort of pie with a
Yeah.
meringue top.
yeah, exactly. I have to admit, I did make this pastry a couple of days ago. So I hope it's going to be all right. But we'll just patch it up, see what we can do.
Of course, this is the thing in Bake Off. So many times you come up against things that you couldn't have predicted and you have to improvise.
Yeah, this is it. It's sort of, and I quite like that whole sort of, you know, I was supposed to be an engineer. My dad was an engineer, so you know, you've got a problem, you have to get a solution. You know, hook or crook, you got to figure it out somehow. Pretty nicely patched up now. It's not my smoothest looking bit of pastry, but it might just hold it together enough to make a snowman. So we're just going to get some baking parchment. Put that on there, and then try and fill as much as we can.
Ooh.
Some baking
So what does
beads.
this do then, having the weight of the
So this will just stop the pastry rising up during the lifting up from the bottom during the baking process.
Okay.
There we go.
In he goes, Mr. Snowman.
So, yeah, quite a nice hot oven. I don't know, about 190, something like that. Probably, I don't know, we'll probably do 5 or 10 minutes with the beans in, and then we'll take them out and pop it in for another 5 or 10 minutes. And yeah, should be good to go.
So now that's in the oven, what's going into it?
So now we're baking the pastry now, get that all nice and golden. Then we're going to put some mincemeat in there, and then I think we're going to take a risk, and we're going to put some Italian meringue on top. And I love mincemeat. I love mince pies. I think anything with mince is just great stuff. So yeah, I made a huge batch of that, and we'll use a little bit of it in the pie today.
Fantastic. So it's ready to go, but for those brave people at home who don't want to go and buy it in the supermarket, they want to try and make it at home.
Yeah, I mean, I think making it at home is dead easy, and you can sort of make it your own, put your own flavours in there that you particularly like. So I mean, I've put all the sort of, I would say, the standard stuff like currants, sultanas, raisins, peel, and I do it with a mixture of Bramley apples, chop up fine, and then I actually use veg suet, so it's not quite as sort of, I don't know, heavy going as the beef suet, and I had a bad experience with beef suet a few years ago. I've never used it since. But and then yeah, just sort of brandy as well, lots of brandy. Or you could the one I've used a bit of was a bit of Cointreau in there, a bit of orange liqueur, and I've used some of my good old favourite orange oil in there, and anything else you fancy. So whichever spices you like, bung them in. So I mean, I've used generally mixed spice, and then also put a bag in with some star anise in, and some cinnamon bark in, stuff like that. So make it your own, really.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
So is it, you simply bung it in and cook it
Just
up
bung
a
it
bit?
in, yeah, put it in a huge, I mean, I've got this massive pan, and you put it all in, mix it all together, and with a hearty amount of sugar, of course.
Wouldn't forget the sugar, would you, Ian?
No. It'd be so silly to forget that.
Who would do that?
But yeah, this time, a whole kilo of it, you don't tend to forget. 60 grams of it, that's easy to forget. But yeah, so mix it all up and just leave it for overnight. And then the next day, very slowly but surely, cook it up for about, I think it's about 3 hours I cooked it up for. Okay. And then it becomes lovely. Let it cool down, in with the brandy. Especially with a dose like a batch like this, it was like virtually a whole bottle of brandy went in there. So yeah, great stuff.
Right, so while that's boiling away, what happens to this?
So these are egg whites now with a little pinch of cream of tartar in. So we're just going to get it ready on the mixer here, and my usual kind of thing is basically we want the eggs to be at sort of soft peak stage at the same time as the caramel comes up to the right temperature. So it's a bit of a juggle. So I normally reckon on this getting up to about 112 degrees, then we start the mixer and we kind of come back and forth. So it's
Right, could be tricky.
Could be tricky, yeah. Okay, so we're nearly up to temperature there. So now we'll start the whisker off. Get that going. Keep it turning like that.
Wow.
And then we just very carefully pour it down the edge. So we just keep it sort of gently whisking away until it's cooled down to get down to room temperature.
Right.
So it will be whisking for a few minutes now. So maybe whilst that's going along there, we'll get our mince pie stuff in there.
Yep. That's smelling good.
So hopefully, let's just Around.
Fantastic.
So that's actually.
That's looking very good. Ooh.
So we're just going to try carefully.
Gently does it.
Try to remove all this off.
So let's talk about your day job, Ian, because you did have a job before the Bake
believe
Off.
it or not, yes. And it doesn't seem like it, but yes.
So you are, of course, the official photographer for the Dalai Lama. What's that like?
I mean, it's one that, well, it's yet another part of my life. I can't quite believe that it's, that I managed to do it, and that it's me who does this job, and it's but it's an amazing thing to be part of. I mean, obviously, we kind of all know that he's an incredible guy. His positivity and his warmth is just such an inspiring thing, and the way he'll bring that across to people is just incredible. And he'll just light up so many people's lives, people who you wouldn't expect.
And it wasn't that long ago that the Dalai Lama came to visit us here in Cambridge. Mixed reactions.
Yes, there were some protesters there, which is sort of such a strange. Always seems like such a strange thing. It's like, oh wait a minute, this guy's really nice. Why what's your issue there? But there are some people who don't agree with some of his stuff. But yeah, generally, everyone was really, really pleased to see him there, and it was it was really interesting to see him. Him in conversation with Rowan Williams, who's someone who obviously I knew of before, but hadn't really heard talking before, and he was very inspiring to listen to. Really, really inspiring. Right. So next thing is to get this mould off, which I'm a little bit apprehensive about. There we go.
Hey, ta-da!
Yeah.
Look at that.
We've just got a
Fantastic.
snowman. Here we go. Here's our little snowman pastry case, and now we'll fill it with some nice mincemeat.
Woohoo! So this is something I can do.
You can do.
I'm
you know
not
what?
likely
Actually,
to mess this up.
no, I think we can do this bit. You know what we might do, because it's quite, especially because it's quite cold. It's been in the pantry. I think we might cheer it up with a little bit of give it more of a festive feel. Might pop a little bit of Cointreau in there.
Ooh.
Give it a little bit more edge to it.
That
I think.
sounds good.
I think sort of can't get
Lovely.
too much of that kind of stuff at this time of year. So yeah, we'll just
Smells
get
good.
a bowl for it, and right.
Aha.
So there we go. One bowl. Do you want to get a
Shall I
good
spoon
generous
some in?
dollops of that in there? Let me just go and see if I can find the Cointreau. Added sort of just make it a bit more loose.
Give it a good mix.
Yeah, mix up. You might warm it up in the microwave for
Yep.
20 seconds or so.
Oh, that's smelling good.
Smelling good?
Yeah,
Good.
smelling great.
That's
That's really good.
Yeah, I might bung a bit more of that one. I like that.
Why not?
Why
Pour
not,
a bit more in.
And let's chuck it in.
Wonderful.
I've got sort of quite a generous spread along the bottom.
Yep.
And maybe that's just me and my love of mincemeat.
It is good.
I do like it.
This mincemeat that we're using is essentially leftovers, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Sort of from a big vat you've made.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the problems with Christmas. You can get a lot of waste. So have you got any sort of top tips for what to do with your leftovers?
Yeah. When I was thinking about what to make today, briefly I did consider the idea of a turkey-shaped pie. I don't know if they'd actually be able to make a turkey shape. I looked up online about turkey cartoons, and it was clearly taking on something a bit too ambitious. But there's the idea of sort of thinking, oh, actually, you could make a whole, you make a nice turkey pie with maybe some leftover cranberry sauce in there. Probably even cut up, having the sweetness of the parsnips cut up in there as well. Might work quite well. Well, there's
Really
a bit of Cointreau in there, isn't there? Right, I reckon this is probably. It's a lovely thick meringue we got there.
Wow.
I actually got quite a lot of it.
Very marshmallowy. So is that the consistency you're looking for? So it's sort of firm enough to stay on the whisk, but
Yeah,
just about...
exactly. I think in my considerable experience of making Italian meringues, then I think this is exactly what we want. So here we go. Let's pop on. I'll just pop it on. This Italian meringue stuff is great because you can sort of, because you've already cooked it, you don't have to do anything else with it, and and you can pipe it into, it pipes very nicely and smoothly.
So apart from the fact that this has got tons of Cointreau in it, is this the kind of thing you'd make with your kids and family on an average Christmas?
I've never made this before in my life. To be honest, I never used to be a terribly adventurous cook until Bake Off came along. And then I realised, I kind of realised I had to experiment. And since then I've kind of realised what fun it is to experiment, really. I mean, you know, don't get me wrong, I've baked some terrible things in the practice sessions. Some real, one particular cake just kind of looked grey and somehow tasted grey, and despite the fact it had some quite nice ingredients in it, just it didn't come together at all. But you know, you win some, you lose some. You know, I think
and you won quite a few.
Well, yeah, in the end, yes. So yeah, so it's. I mean, I've learned a lot about sort of, you know, not just baking, but life and all sorts, really, about taking risks. That was one of the main things, and doing things differently.
One Christmas snowman, mince pie meringue.
For the first time ever, I would imagine. And I would hope not the last. Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you for your help.
Well, I think he looks great. A very happy, smiley snowman.
Yeah, I think so. We got there in the end, didn't we?
We did. Now to try it. And I'm afraid these two couldn't be here today, so you've just got me. I'm not going to be as harsh as Mary and Paul.
Good, good.
So
let's give it a whirl.
let's slice into him.
Yeah.
Feels a shame to cut into him. There we go. Is that good size for you?
Yeah, I think that should be a good starter anyway.
Okay, good start. There's plenty to go around. There we go.
There we go. One.
There's one. Oops, there we go. There's another one.
Give it a whirl.
Right.
Spoon.
Thank you.
Now, see what the strange concoction's like.
Bon
I'm
appetit.
quite intrigued with.
I'm sure it's going to be delicious. It looks like a mince pie with cream on the top, really, doesn't it? You know what? I think that's really yummy.
I think that's okay, actually, isn't it?
Really nice.
Yep.
It's like an alternative
Yeah,
mince
exactly.
pie.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
It's quite boozy, isn't it?
It is. Can't have too much of this. Well done. Fantastic Christmas treat.